Okay, feet on the ground. Okay, you can be seated, you can be laid down, whatever is most comfortable for you. You can close your eyes or you can just do a soft gaze. Okay, turn your phone over. It'll be fine for 5 seconds, right? Put your feet on the ground. Hands can go wherever feels comfortable. I always realize like whenever, because we do a lot of grounding work in herbalism school. We are so programmed to be like, just tell me exactly the right way I'm supposed to sit to do this correctly. And there's no right or wrong way to do this. So just put your hands what feels most comfortable to you. I find it just feels nice to touch my own body because it's so easy to get distracted. And this is gonna be like 2 seconds that we're not doing like a 10-minute meditation or anything, but I just want us to get settled into the space. So close your eyes, soften your gaze, okay? I want you to take a big breath in, like you're breathing into your belly. Okay, so big breath into the belly, then exhale that breath however feels comfortable to you, nose or mouth. Then I want you to take another deep breath and bring that breath up to the chest. So think about that breath just coming up to your chest, filling your chest up, almost like you're spreading those ribs apart, and then exhale the breath. Then we're going to take one more, start at the belly, bring it up to the chest. Think about that breath coming up to your head. And as you exhale, think about that breath taking everything that's laying on your shoulders or maybe stuck in those weird places of your brain or stuck in the chest and just let it fall down the sides of your arms. Like really great sweaty workout falling down your arms, just like feeling that feeling. And then whatever you are holding on to, I want you to imagine that that's just going into the earth. It is not yours anymore. There's nothing, nowhere else you need to be. There's nothing else you need to do. You decided to come onto this group call today to get support. So let's just be here in this moment. Take a deep breath in, one more, and then let it go. And then open your eyes when you're ready. Come back into your body. You can move around your toes, your fingers. You can shake it out if you want to, whatever feels best for you. You can stand up, sit down, whatever you want to do. So today for our call, we were going to talk more about your human design strategy and how to use that more effectively. Okay. So go ahead. I think I know Nikki and Heidi's energy type, but everybody else, can you just type it in there one more time for me so I can remember, so we can make sure that we spend a little more time on the things for those who are participating here today. So we got projector, Heidi's manifesting generator, Heather's generator. Maria, do you know your energy type? And Newper?
Yeah, I have it somewhere. Give me a second. I can put it in there in the chat for you.
Okay. And Newper, is yours? I should know this. Yes. Okay. I was like, I think it's manifestor because we did our little call. I was either manifesting generator or generator. Okay. So we got a pretty much mix of everybody as usual. Not many reflectors. In our group chat, we actually don't currently have any reflectors, so I'm not going to spend much time on reflector strategy type. But your strategy type is a huge part of energetic scheduling and just part of you navigating being an entrepreneur in general. And so I wanted to spend more time on this today with you guys, because I feel like this can be more of the challenging things to navigate with human design as you're navigating your new, okay, manifesting generator. Perfect. So we got a good mix. Heather, I am not surprised you're a generator. Okay. So I'm going to go over each energy type strategy. You can write this down. You can do what you want with it. And then we're going to go over how that looks. So we're going to start with our projectors. Nikki and myself are both projectors. That strategy is to wait for the invitation. Okay. Generators, your strategy is to respond. Okay. Manifesting generators, your strategy is also to respond with a little bit of to inform, because you're the hybrid of the manifestor and the generator. And then my manifestor, your strategy is to inform. Now, when you hear strategy, I want us to kind of dive into what that sounds like. So for any of you guys who've been like practicing with your human design at all, have you noticed anything when you're using your strategy? I would just love some like real life examples if you have any. If not, it's okay. Okay, cool. So I did a group call yesterday and I nearly killed myself choking on coffee. I really need to stop trying to like walk and drink at the same time. So your strategy, I want you to think of your strategy with your energy type. So let's recap energy type real quick. So energy type is your aura, essentially. Okay. Your energy type is the energy that you put off in this world and how other people perceive you. Okay. It's also your battery pack. So each energy type has a specific battery pack. And that battery pack is how much energy you have to give into a day. Don't think of it as extroverted or introverted. That doesn't apply with human design. Okay. Just a reminder, human design is a map of who you are individually and how you can use that map to navigate life in more alignment with yourself. So when our energy type and our strategy are the most important pieces of human design. Okay. So think about energy type and strategy like when you're teaching a client protein and calories and you're like, just get this down first and then we'll do everything else and everything will feel so much easier. That's kind of what this is. And whether you are a one-on-one client or you do the group program or even just in the free chat, if you continue to navigate energy type and strategy, you're going to start to feel more and more in alignment with your goals, with the way you're operating day to day, not just as a business owner, guys, but just the strategy applies to relationships. It applies to money. It applies to how like your dreams and your goal, like everything. Okay. So it's not just business, even though I know that's most of us are here to learn more about how to navigate our business in a more efficient way. So strategy is, so if you think of your energy type as like, okay, we're playing Monopoly or something, or like, who's ever played Ticket to Ride? Oh my God, guys, come on. Okay, get this game. It is literally so fun. I love strategy games, which I'm sure you could probably tell by now. I love I love things like thinking ahead and all that. So Ticket to Ride is so fun. Get it. But okay, let's think of any kind of strategy game. Your player is your energy type, and then your strategy is how you navigate that board game that's going to make your specific player win that game. Okay. So strategy is how we're kind of going out into the world, not necessarily navigating decisions, but a little bit of navigating decisions, but more so navigating the path that we're choosing in life. Does that make sense? So we pick this path and then we make decisions along that path. Those decision making is based on your authority. So everybody on your chart, you should have like a space that says your inner authority is mental, sacral, emotional, splenic, right? There's all these different authorities. That's your decision-making process in human design. Your strategy is the path you choose. So I wanted to just kind of give that, because you can hear strategy and think that's how I make decisions in life. And it's like a yes, but does that make sense? Okay. So if none of this makes sense, don't be afraid to say no. Be like, Emily, you're literally making no sense. I need you to try a different way to explain that because I want this to help you. So you're not going to hurt my feelings at all if it doesn't make sense. So for each energy type, your strategy is unique. Now I'm going to start with the manifestor first because manifestors, I'm going to go manifestor, then generators, because theirs is the easiest to understand. And then the rest of us, we have a little bit more complicated strategy. Okay. So manifestors, okay, just to recap on the manifestor energy type, manifestors have impulsive energy. They rally the troops. They bring the people forward. They get the people going. Who's seen that reel? It's like about, it's provocative. That's always what I think of when I say that. But they get the people going. They're like the trailblazers, okay? So they have this energy of like, go forth, make it happen. They're the initiators. So the to inform strategy means that for manifestors, it's very crucial for you to let the people know. What are you doing? What is that energy bringing you towards, right? So the manifestors have this impulsive energy. Their battery pack looks like a quick burst of energy, then a rest. Quick burst of energy, then a rest, okay? And with that rest is a super important part when you're creating your schedule. But the informing is like, I think this is a great idea and I'm going to do it. You got to like let the people know so you can rally the troops to help you build that trail. So when it comes to anything, let's pick categories. What 3 categories would matter most to you guys? Business, relationships, and personal dreams? Yeah. Okay. So for business, right, for the manifester, it's going to be more like letting the people know when you're starting a new program, right? Or really like letting the people know, like, this is what's to come. This is the path I'm taking, right? Letting the people know. Manifestors are the only energy type that are supposed to go out and initiate shit. The rest of us are not supposed to do that. Okay. Manifestors are like, go out, initiate, take action, make it happen right now. So in business, that's going to be huge for them. In relationships, okay, you have this big back and forth kind of energy. It's going to be important to communicate in relationships, what you're feeling, where your energy's at. Are you in a rest period or are you in an impulsive period, right? Everybody's going to be different. I don't say that some manifestors may feel this all day, but it could also be in seasons. It could be week by week. Everybody's going to be different. But it's knowing that in a relationship for a manifestor, it's going to be crucial to let people know, inform them of the action you're taking. For your personal dreams, it's going to be trusting that, right? Almost like, so if the strategy is to inform, if you are feeling this pulse of energy to do this thing, the strategy to inform is going to be like, what am I actually feeling? What is this? What is the purpose here, right? Informing yourself where we're going and why we're going there. Does that make sense? Cool. Any questions? Because you may have a manifestor in your life and they're big energy. You feel them, you know, they're there kind of people. No? New party, do you have any questions? I know you're a manifestor, so feel free to ask any questions if you have any. If not, no worries. Okay, cool. Generators, y'all have I think literally the easiest strategy out of all of us that you all love to complicate because you guys overthink things all the time. My generators do. So generators, reminder, generators are like big, juicy life force energy. They have the biggest battery pack. They can go all day, they can go all night. They're your hustlers, they're doers. They just get shit done. Okay. And you usually can tell when someone's a generator. You usually can tell when someone's a generator. It's a blessing and a curse. Yeah, that's what generators, I think, usually say. Generators struggle with people pleasing, okay, and saying yes to too many things. And so manifesting generators can relate to a lot of what I'm saying too, because you are half manifestor, half generator. So both of these energy types apply to you if you're a manifesting generator, because you're a hybrid of both. So for the generator, your strategy is to respond, okay? So this doesn't mean you're supposed to go out in the world and find things to respond to. Generators are supposed to be open to things to respond to, okay? So my generators, they're just out there, they're getting it, they're living life, they're hacking down trees, they're building houses, they're digging moats, they're just making life happen. And then God is like, hey, what do you think about this opportunity? And the generator is like, that's your moment to respond. An opportunity has been presented to you. And then what does your gut say? Hell yes or a hell no? For a generator, it is either a hell yes or a hell no. It's literally that simple. If your brain is like, well, what if you're not using your strategy correctly? Well, what if she doesn't like me? Or what if I hurt their feelings? Or what if this causes a problem? Or what if I make the wrong decision? Did your body give you a visceral response of a hell yes or a hell no? That's all the information you need to know as a generator. When a generator is living in alignment with their strategy, by following a path of opportunities being laid out in front of them, they're going to feel more fulfilled. They're going to feel more satisfied. So when this comes to business, for example, generators need to, one, be doing what they find meaningful and I actually give a shit about. If you're doing something you don't care about as a generator, you're going to get lost on the wrong path. Number two, for business, it's going to be really important for you to use all that juicy energy by following the trail of things to respond to. Wow, someone really likes this post. I'm going to message them. That's an opportunity to respond to, right? So we're responding to how things coming into our lives. When it becomes for relationships for a generator, it's also reminding yourself that hell yeses and hell nos are super important. What I mean by that is don't say yes to things that you don't actually want to go to. Or make sure you voice the hell no to your partner when they're like, I really want us to take this family vacation to Disney World, right? And your body is like, no, that doesn't feel right now. Voicing those things, those are your opportunities to show what your body is responding to. For your dreams, it's just staying open, right? Maybe you have, this is where human design can get tricky because there's so many layers to who you are. Like there's this factor's profile type and all your energy centers. But if we're keeping this high level here, it's going to be for your dreams and the things you want out of your life. It's really allowing your inner self, that gut feeling, to drive you in the right direction. So manifesting generators and generators struggle with overthinking because it's really hard to trust yourself. It's really hard to think that the gut reaction is truth or not. And so to practice your strategy as a generator, my number one recommendation is starting to practice responding. So it can be as small, literally 21 days, practice this. Small as like, you notice you walk into your office, you're like, you get that feeling? I think I need to redo this office. That feels that feels really good right now. Or you open up your fridge. I'm obsessed with Asian takeout. So this is always my go-to example. But you open your fridge and the leftover, Thai food is in the fridge and your body's like, oh, that sounds so good right now. That's your body responding. You're letting these things come into your life and you're responding to them. And so you can practice these in small ways to help build up that respond reflex for the bigger decisions. Does that make sense? Any questions on that for either manifesting generator or generator? Are you confused on how to apply that to your schedule?
Hold on, I have a question, but my daughter's drumming, so let me go. Okay, can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
So my big thing is, and it's probably just part of that too, is like, as you're talking, I'm like, and I told you this before, I feel like anything that you talk about, I feel like, okay, I feel like you're talking to me, girl. But it's like, with those opportunities, like, that's the way that I look at it. Like, I've been giving, like, especially lately, I have so many opportunities, and it's like, it's almost like, well, which one do you pick? And like, what if I pick this one? And like, I should have picked this one. And again, it's just like, how do you stop the thoughts rolling?
Yeah.
All the opportunity.
So that's where it's like, you really got to go inward. Your body, for generators and manifesting generators, you guys have something that myself, projectors, manifestors, and reflectors don't have. So myself, Nikki, and Nupur, we don't have a sacral center colored in. And that's what's driving that hell yes and hell no for you guys. So just to give you contrast, because this helps sometimes. For example, myself and Nikki, we have to go to a different energy center to help us make decisions, right? To help us see what is right for us, what's not right for us. Where if you all hone your skill of response based on what your gut says, it will always be correct. So what happens is, this is just conditioning that I think all women and humans in general have, but there becomes this lack of trust because you say, well, I've made really bad decisions in the past. How can I trust myself to make this decision? Right. And so it's building that trust up by listening to what your gut says and trusting that response factor to be leading you in the right direction. It's easy to say, and we can all attest to this, right? It's easy to say like, well, it doesn't make sense to everybody else. That's a manifesting generator experience for sure. Like they always feel like it doesn't make sense to everybody else. But like, maybe it's like, oh, well, my husband doesn't feel like it's the best decision. Okay, but like, what do you feel? Right? In your heart of hearts, what feels like the best opportunity, not because it looks best on paper, not because like that's what everyone thinks you should do. Like you're like, this feels right for some reason. This feels like a hell yes. That's how generators live their lives. And when they do that, they start to, it leads to the next thing. And something, this is for everybody too. There are no wrong decisions, because any decision you make is a lesson that you need to learn, whether a hard lesson or an easy lesson. So let's say you do choose something and you didn't listen to your hell no and your hell yes. Maybe you didn't listen to it because you're like, you needed to learn the lesson of listening to it, right? Or, maybe you do choose the option that is a hell yes for you. And you're like, well, this wasn't what I thought it was going to be. That's probably because there's some lesson there that you haven't really learned yet. And so we get obsessed with making the right, correct, best decision. But it's more so like, how is this leading me on the path that I'm supposed to be living? Does that make sense? Does anyone resonate with that? I'm sweating now. Does that help, Heather?
It did. I resonate with that a lot, because every opportunity that I have had, like, it is like either a learning experience or it's not. Like, I'm learning something from everything. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah, there's no like, it's not right or wrong, but the response factor is huge for you, right? You can probably, because these are things you guys already do naturally. I'm not telling you something you already don't do naturally, right? But life happens, conditioning happens, society, whatever, and you lose track of your natural way of doing things. So that's why I've asked in the past in the group chat, like, who were you as a little girl? Like, how did you behave? What were you like? Because that's your truest form, right? Then the world happens and we get lost and we get into these molds that aren't our own. But responding is natural for you. Just like for a new perv, to inform people is natural for her, right? Like, it's very natural for me to wait for the invitation, which is the projector strategy. Like, I'm not going to force myself onto anything. That's just not me, right? And so so it's something you already have in you. It's just like reconnecting with that. Make sense? Okay, perfect. Any questions on that? Because I know that's, or anything you want to add, anybody want to add?
Yeah, actually, as I was going to ask a question, but then as you were talking, the answer just kind of came to me. But I was going to say, how do you like reconnect to that feeling? But then as you were talking, I just kind of thought, like, as I'm telling somebody who's been on a diet roller coaster for years and years and years, like, you have to reconnect to your hunger cues. So to me, it's kind of like, if I'm getting it correctly, it's very similar to that, where you maybe like, what in your meditations or whatever, you just kind of like ask yourself that question, like, what am I feeling? What is like the real feeling inside of me when you've lived in meh, whatever for so long, just people pleasing and doing whatever. So I feel like that was a pretty good interpretation of it.
Yeah, that's a perfect interpretation of it. You can always equate everything to fitness. Isn't that hilarious? Like, you really can equate everything to health and fitness. But it is like your client, I was that client. I didn't have hunger cues for jack shit. I just ate solely for purpose. I'm like, I just have to eat. I didn't know. I just had to eat. And so it took time to like be like, I didn't even know what foods I liked. If you asked me what foods I like, I'd be like, I don't know. I just eat food because I have to, right? For this fitness goal. And so reconnecting with that took a lot of time. It took a lot of like, what do I feel right now? What actually sounds good right now? Like, I still struggle with it now in some ways, right? And so it's something that's always going to be growing and happening. And if you've done any kind of healing work or whatever, I want you to not think of it, guys, as like a stair shape of like, I'm on this level now. I'm on this level. Think of it like it's a spiral. Okay. So you're going to keep experiencing similar things, but at a different level. Okay. So like, right, for you right now, Heather, just because you asked your question, you're learning how to not overthink and listen to what feels best for you. You might experience this again 2 years from now when you're at a different level of entrepreneurship, right? Of like, oh, I'm not responding. I'm just overthinking, or I'm using my brain, or I've lost track of what's right for me. But now you've had the wisdom from this current season. Does that make sense? So generators, once you get it packed down, I swear I'm a little jealous, honestly, of generators, but that's also the plight of a projector, is like constantly wanting to be a generator. But once you get it, it's very black and white. It's either for you or not for you. And it's very as simple as that. Same. And for my manifesting generators, it's very similar for you guys, but you're a combination of manifestor and generator. So to talk about manifesting generators, I think I have an affinity for manifesting generators. I have so many manifesting generators in my life. It's so bizarre because you guys kind of like there's not as many manifesting generators as there are generators, because like this little hybrid, I don't know, there's a lot. My husband's one, my sister's one, my nephew's one, my cousin is one, my brother-in-law, like there's so many. But manifesting generators are here to create, to forge, and to play. Okay. They are such a unique energy type because you have two pieces in one. And some of you may have more manifestor than generator, or vice versa. It just kind of depends on the whole body chart. But you probably will say, well, I definitely feel like I'm more manifestor. Once you hear like more manifestor things, you'll kind of be able to differentiate for yourself. But manifestors have this really cool energy because they have the impulsivity of a manifestor with the endurance of a generator. So real quick, I didn't explain this in manifestor. Impulsivity doesn't mean you're impulsive in person. You can't control yourself. It means you have like a pulsing energy, right? And generator is that enduring, like they have a large battery pack. And manifesting generators and generators, they have this enveloping aura, like you feel like you're like being brought in kind of thing, where projectors have more this like penetrating aura. It's very like laser like, meaning like for projectors, right, they just like to go deep, right to the meat of the problem. Anyone's ever worked with me one-on-one, like we're just like, let's get to the root here, right? That's like a projector thing. So manifesting generators, they have that enveloping energy, but they also have that like impulsive energy of a manifestor. And manifestors are like leaders, trailblazers, right? And the generator is like life and energy, right? So you put these two together and you get this beautiful unicorn of a manifesting generator. And so manifesting generators, their battery can look like feeling this big push to do something, but then they're like, where's the generator to give me the confirmation that this is the right thing to do? Right. And so your strategy is to respond, but it's a little bit different than the generator because you have that push and pull of manifestor and form, generator to respond. So I'm going to encourage you to practice the response just like the generator, but also trust your impulsive feelings. Right? You have that trailblazer in you. Manifesting generators are literally here to challenge the status quo, to show the world that nothing is linear and that anything is possible. And they really need to incorporate that fun and play and creativity inside them because that's what makes you unique. And I say this to my husband all the time because he's a manifesting generator. The world wants to keep you in a box so much, especially the manifesting generator. They don't like that you're like, what if we try it this way? Or maybe you were your mom was like, you go to college, you did it, and then all of a sudden you joined college, you pieced out, you moved across the country, you started a business, right? You decided to become an artist. You're like all over the place. And your mom is like, who did I raise? I don't understand, right? But that's just manifesting generator doing manifesting generator things. And so when it comes to business as a manifesting generator, using your strategy, same thing as the manifestor, right? We want to let the people know what you're doing, but also you have like a super special power of the generator to like bring the community with you and make it happen and like have that doer hustler energy to propel those impulsive things forward. So I would encourage you to trust that. Okay. Instead of thinking like it needs to look how I do it or Heather does it or Nikki does it, trust the way that you kind of move because you have this like, almost think of it like a graph. You have this like spike. That's the manifestor in you. And then the generator is like, let's make it happen. And then you might go back down because remember, manifestors, they're impulsive and then they go down. So you want to go up and then maybe you take a little break and then you have another spike. and then you go down, right? So knowing that your flow is going to look a little bit different because of that impulsivity and then that endurance. For relationships, as a manifesting generator, communication is going to be really important, like any relationship, but it's also important for you to communicate with your partner, whatever their energy type is, that there is going to be like a little whiplash feeling for anybody who is with you, right? You change your mind quickly, you move through things quickly. And so someone that you're with might be like, why are you always changing your mind? Like, I can't keep up. Like, this is exhausting. There's nothing wrong with you as a manifesting generator. It's okay, how can I communicate this better to my partner so I can support them? But also any partner who's with a manifesting generator, it's really important that you understand that they move quick and you just got to roll with the punches and do your own thing. My husband's a manifesting generator and I cannot keep up to save my life. I can't. He works 3 jobs. He's got 16 hobbies. This summer he decided he's doing this seasonal job. I'm like, have fun. Like, I can't keep up with all your changes, but I just roll with it. And so, but if he communicates and informs me, that manifester part of himself, everything's fine, right? So use your communication skills, okay? Because every manifesting generator and manifester has a throat that is defined. And we want to use that, okay? Using that communication, super important. And then for your dreams, okay, the biggest struggle of a manifesting generator is it doesn't look like everybody else. And you feel like there's something wrong with you. Manifesting generators also usually tell me, I think I have ADHD. And you may, I'm not a psychiatrist, but most of the time you think you have ADHD because you move through things quick. And you think if I don't follow through with this one thing, I'm a failure. That's not true. Manifesting generators learn what they need to learn and then they peace out. They got what I needed out of that. They don't need to stay any longer, right? They don't need to stay to the end. They got what they needed and then they move on. Doesn't mean there's something wrong or you don't know how to follow through. It's that you take your wisdom comes from all these little pieces of all these different things that you've done and you kind of put them all together. A really good example of manifesting generator is my friend Bree Guzman. She's great. And Bree is a great example of being a manifesting generator. She did fitness coaching, then she did body image coaching, then she did sober coaching, then she did blah, blah. She changed and changed it. Each one, she was evolving her skills and she allowed herself to roll with the punches. And then it led her to this beautiful new business that she's running, where it's all about like style and aesthetic and all these things. And it's just like manifesting generator doing manifesting generator things. It's like a great example. So she's a good example. But I know manifesting generator can feel like a little lost sometimes. So do you guys have any questions or anything you want to share, add, or anything like that?
Yeah, when you do feel kind of in that lost like moment because there's so much that we do have like going on and we started or doing this, how do you kind of reel that back and like help yourself not feel stuck in like this like overwhelms, spot?
Yeah, I would definitely say manifesting generators, your feelings are totally valid, Maria, because I think manifesting generators deal with the most chaos out of all the energy types. We all experience chaos, but y'all's looks a little bit different because it's very like scattered, right? You're overwhelmed because it's like, I got a little energy over here and I got a little energy over here. And how do I get it, rein it all into this one thing? And there are parts of your human design chart, if I saw it, it could help me explain some of this for you specifically, Maria, but just like for overarching manifesting generator, the biggest thing for manifesting generators that I encourage is to make lists and like write things down, have anchors in your life. So what I mean by that is not telling you to be a Looney Tune with 17 Post-it notes on your desk, but maybe being like, okay, what are the 4 things I need to be focusing on my business right now? What are the like 4 things in my relationship that are important to me right now? And as your brain is like going all the ways, you can always come back to that and be like, okay, this is what I said I wanted to focus on right now. And then maybe after that's done, you go on to the next thing, right? The next 4 things so that you can always feel back on track. So course correction is huge for manifesting generators. huge. You always are going to, this is like a lifelong thing. You're never going to like master this. It's just part of who you are. It's just, you know, course correction. So just like, oh shit, went too far to the right. Let me get, bring it on back. But you always know where back is, right? You kind of stray away, but you know where back is. So you come back to that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And just let go of the judgment that you did something wrong. You didn't do something wrong if you had to course correct. Just naturally.
That's all the time.
That's okay. There's nothing wrong with course correction. The world says there's something wrong with course correction, but there's nothing wrong with it. That's the beauty of manifesting or of human design, is all of this is uniquely for you, because we actually all need, for example, projectors need manifesting generators and generators, because we don't pour energy into the collective. We take the energy that you all create and then guide it. So you're going over in right field, left field. You're like, oh shit, I've done something wrong. But maybe you made something amazing, or you connected with amazing people and you impacted their life. And then you just got a course corrected, like, okay, let me get back on my path. Almost think about, do you read fantasy novels at all? Okay, well, but you know about like the princess. Okay, everything in my mind, I see in images of like fantasy novels. So, okay, so think about it this way. You're on a quest, okay? I'm just a huge dork is why. And my ex-husband played too much Dungeons and Dragons and it made an impact on me. So you're on a quest, okay? And you're heading to a specific location on that quest. All of us are doing that. There's a side quest. Exactly. You had to stop at this brothel to save this princess who got stuck there for some reason. And you met this mercenary who needed something from you. And then you're like, okay, I got to get back to my quest. This was awesome, but I got to get back to my quest. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So not that that was wrong, but there was something that needed to happen there. And so if we're though to bring it granular and into the real world, if we're talking about like to-do lists and your business and everything like that, and course correction is happening every single day, then I would personally love for you to focus on what is on the to-do list, what's distracting you from your main quest of the day, and nail down that first if you're struggling with daily course correction, because that could be due to just like a behavioral thing. If you're seeing course correction on like a life scale, that's totally normal and nothing that you're doing wrong. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. And if you want, you can send me your to-do lists or an example of your schedule in the group chat and I can give you feedback.
Okay, sounds good.
Cool. Okay, anything else on manifesting generators? No? Okay. All right, now we're going to go on to projectors, which is myself and Nikki. So projectors are harder to explain than the rest of them. And I am one. So I always have to pause and I'm like, where do I start? Okay. So for projectors, I think this is like a really fun fact about projectors that I always like to add because I think it's helpful to give the perspective of the energy type for this one specifically. So forever, for a long, long time, there was just manifestors and generators, okay? And then manifesting generators came. But all the energy types this was when we were Uranian beings, like only living for 30, 40 years. Everything was about create life, build, do, create, survive over and over and over again. Then around 1781, Uranus came into the scene. So we became Uranian beings. So we lived about 80 years. This is when the projector energy type came into our world. Because now we could live life in a way that brought us happiness, not just survival, right? Like more eclecticness into the world. And so then projectors came in to basically take all the energy, like I said, that manifestors, generators, manifestors were creating and help streamline that, bring efficiency so we could have more like art, music, right? Like that Renaissance, all of that occurred. So why I bring this up is because projector energy type, like I said, the projectors are here to guide, tweak, and make efficiency, and how the manifesting generators and generators are this enveloping energy. Projectors are penetrating energy. So we have inconsistent energy. We don't have a lot, but the energy we do have, it goes deep. It just like, it's a lot of energy. And so projectors, it's going to look different per person, the inconsistencies. But like, for example, Fridays, I don't usually have the most energy. This is like my one Zoom call of the day. And then I'm just going to like do some low energy tasks. So where a generator can like go all day, go all night, a projector just can't, right? They can usually ride the waves of a generator, but they need a lot more rest than the other energy types. And projectors their energy type is unique because it doesn't create energy. Okay, it just takes the energy that is given and then directs it. And so our strategy is to wait for the invitation. And every projector I say that to is like, seriously, what a shitty strategy. Like, I'm just supposed to wait for life to happen and just sit around, because the projector, the biggest challenge of a projector is they want to be a generator. Okay, they like, every projector is trying to be a generator. I lived as a generator for 30 years, essentially, until I found out what human design was. So their energy type, wait for the invitation. So for projectors, waiting for the invitation does not mean you sit back and wait for life to happen. It means you wait for the correct invitations to occur in your life, and that's where you take action. So as a projector, the best way I can explain this is through my own personal experiences. So if I reflect back in my life, I was always curious, didn't understand like why everything, like, I didn't understand why other things were working for other people quicker than me, but it was because I wasn't in alignment with who I was. So when, for example, like I realized when I look back how I waited for the invitation, I have never like asked a guy on a date, asked a guy for his phone number. I always waited for that. So the right person asked me, and then I would enact in that, exchange of energy. Or you're kind of bringing this like show and tell energy. So like projectors, if they are always just being their authentic selves, showing up as their authentic selves, the right invitations start to come into their life. And so by showing up, showing your value, showing who you are, the right people recognize that value and then engage. And so, for example, when it comes to business, for projectors, DMing can be very challenging because you are forcing your energy out into the world. Projectors are not meant to force jack shit. If I have to force it, it is incorrect. So DMing can be very challenging for a projector. What can be very buy me per but I lost my train of thought reading the chat. What was I saying? Oh, but what can be very correct for a projector is something like this. I'm showcasing what I have to offer. The right people will recognize that value and then engage with me. With a projector, there has to be an equal exchange of recognition of energy. If there is not, it will not work out. So for example, I used to want to be, all projectors want to be a generator. So I would have identified as a generator if I knew what human design was when I first started my business. And I was like, I can take 16 sales calls in a day, and I'm a DM till 11 o'clock. And then I'm gonna get up at 4 a.m., go work at the grocery store and do it all over again. And then I was so confused why I was having mental breakdowns every single day, because I was trying to pull out a energy that was non-existent. So what did I do? I heavily leaned on caffeine. I heavily leaned on alcohol in the weekends. Like I was trying to find the energy that I don't have. And so as a projector, it's really important to wait for the invitation. And that can be a really hard lesson to learn, but it comes from getting in alignment with who you specifically are, embracing all that you are as a projector, and then showcasing that to the world. It's so hard, I know. And so we're in a safe space, but I'm recorded on those calls, so I have to like tell you to keep going. I know it's so hard. So as a projector, right, I still obviously had to DM because I didn't know anybody, right? I had to get clients. And so it looks like the group call, the master classes, the free shit, right? To get people into our space, because that's the best way that you're going to feel authentic. Our group chat, for example, right? Getting you guys all in there and just facilitating who I am. If it's not right for you, you'll leave. And that's perfect, because now I know there wasn't an equal exchange of energy. But if you stay and you engage, then there's an equal exchange of energy. And so projectors, the best way to find out if you are not waiting for the invitation is always asking yourself, what am I forcing right now? What am I trying to force? And that can be in relationships, personal life, it could be a business. What am I trying to force? And how can I take a step back and actually lean into my rest? Because for projectors, rest is literally everything. Because remember, we're the eye in the sky, okay? Generators and manifesting generators, they're down there like working their little asses off, getting it, doing all the shit. And the projector's like, hey, Heather, turn left. That would make more sense. And I can't keep my eyes clear, my clarity, like in my groundness, if I'm not resting, right? To help the other energy types or whoever it is that you're trying to help. So that's like the most important thing about being projector. And even still, like I told you, it's kind of hard to explain projectors because they're a little bit different. But does anybody have any questions or comments on any of that?
So we may have talked about this before. This is my first like thing. So this is literally just like something based off of like when, where, what time, everything. Like it's literally just embedded in us. It's not something that like,
Yeah.
sprouts. That's wild.
Yeah. So human design is the science of how we're all different. And it's not a spiritual, you can make it spiritual. I say it's more like a map. Okay. So more like a map of who you are. You have these pieces of you. This is who you are naturally. Basically, it's this giant permission slip to my stutter's going to come out because I've been talking for so long. So if I start to stutter, now I'm panicking about my stutter coming out. Okay. It's a giant permission slip to be yourself. Okay. And so there's things in your human design, you pull it up and you get that funky chart that you look at and you're like, what the hell is this? Those are all these things that are like already embedded in you that we're just bringing light to. It's not necessarily things you have to necessarily change. When I do like a human design reading, I'll say like, you experiencing this conditioning here, this, what I'm saying won't make sense. And that's what you have to clear out is that conditioning. But it's really just shining on who you actually are and how you can double down on those things. And so, yeah, and it's based on time of birth and location. And it has been the most life-changing thing for me besides becoming a Christian in my whole life. So it's just like this huge validation of like, oh my God, I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. I've just been trying to be somebody else. And that's why I was having mental breakdowns and my business wasn't working and my team was all messed up and like all these things because I was trying to be someone I wasn't. And so, yeah, it's amazing. It's so cool. And I encourage you to like do your own research and obviously, but it's really fun.
It is fun. When I took was answering all the questions, I thought it was going to be like more of like a personality thing, like pick A, B, or C. And then it gave me this whole thing. It was like, oh, I'm a generator. Okay. And then just hearing you talk about everything, I'm like, yeah, definitely. So it's
so fun. It's so fun. And the more like you get into it, like the profile number and your inner authority, and then like there's so much to it. Like, oh, I just stepped on something. Let me just show you. I'll use myself. Am I in here? Where am I? Here I am. So like there's all these pieces to it, Heather. And since you're new, that's why I'm going to go over this because it's kind of like can be hard to understand when you first see it. But like each of these shapes, these are all energy centers and they all mean something different. And then the numbers inside of it mean something different. And then the color of these lines means something different. So it's like really in depth. But once you understand it, it's like, oh, I always knew that was inside of me, or I always knew that was like blah, 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 blah. And it's just like shining light on it. So just to talk a little bit more of just like the structure of human design, since we have a couple minutes, does this feel good for everybody if I talk about that? Okay. So white, this is why I like Jovian Archive, because some of the other websites, they have way different colored things, and I think it can be confusing. But if it's not colored in, that's undefined. That means that that is a empathic center. That means that energy flows through that center. You heard me saying how Nikki and I don't have a sacral center. That's this. No projector has this. Only generators, manifesting generators do. So I can be around you, Heather, and I can use your energy to fuel myself, essentially. For example, I went on a trip with Lacey and all of them, and they're all generators. And I came home and I felt like I ran 16 marathons because they don't stop. They just don't stop. So I was with them and I was going and I was getting it. And then I came home and I was like, oh my God, if I don't talk to another person for 10 years, I will be fine. Like I was like, oh my God. Because I just had no more energy left. And my whole life I've been surrounded by generators and manifesting generators. And it goes like energy is so wild. And I could talk about this for forever. But like I used to get sick all the time as a child because my parents would have me out all day, all night, like, and then I would get sick, and it made sense because my energy was drawn. But anyways, this up top here, these two colored in shapes, this is my specific, yours is going to look different, but if it's colored in, it's defined. That means that energy comes from within you. It is yours alone. It's not influenced by outside forces. So anything that's colored in on your chart means that that is already yours. And you actually want to double down on that. So for example, I'm a mental projector. So I'm very empathic. I feel all the things, all your energies all the time. I think that's what makes me a good coach. But my definition comes from within my headspace. So I get a lot, I'm really good at ideas, right? I would say my students definitely know that. Like I'm really good at ideas. I'm really good at looking at the different ways to create things, build things out. I have a specific opinion on a lot of things, right? So that energy comes from within here. So everybody's is going to be different, but those are the energy types. Then you have your profile type, which is like your super special flavor of energy type that you are. And then your inner authority is how you make decisions. I have no inner authority, so I have to like have lots of alone time to make any kind of decision. But yeah, everybody's so different. So this says a lot. I know you can look at this and it can be overwhelming, but if you have any specific questions about your chart, you can put it in the group chat. Okay. Any other questions, guys, before we hop off?
I was looking at mine compared to yours, and everything is different on them, even though we are both projectors. Like everything shaded in, all of the lines, everything is different.
It is.
It was interesting. Yeah.
Here, share it real quick. Let me see. Yeah, so you could be a generator, like we're both projectors, but I'm a completely different projector than Nikki, right? It's like, so we're all, yeah, see, we're so different. But also this is why we work well together. So see how you have your head open and mine's not? When you work with someone or your partner, it's kind of cool. You usually like match, like flip flop, and it's really cool. So Nikki has all of this beautiful definition. So these are all these things that she should be doubling down on, which is really fun. And she's the easy breezy genius, which makes so much sense. Okay. So I know it's so fun. So if you have any questions, feel free to share them. And then I'll drop this recording in the group chat if you're like, oh, I wanted to kind of rehear what she said about being a generator or whatever. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.